Hey guys, welcome back to the podcast. I'm so happy to be back in action where I'm able to go live again with you guys. So, hopefully, y'all are watching this because it's been, if you haven't been watching my podcast, you probably won't know that there's been a lot of technical issues going on, but things are finally fixed now. So, hopefully, you guys are seeing this live. And I'm also now able to live stream through my podcast page. So, if you didn't know, I made a separate page specifically for the podcast. So that way, my profile, I'll keep all my personal stuff over there. And now I just have an actual page and it's called Tiffany's TVscape. So follow it there if you're not already following it, but you probably should be if you're watching this right now. And then you'll see any new updates. Anytime I go live for the podcast, it'll be through this page now. So I feel like that will be a little bit easier, just a little bit better to kind of keep things organized. But if you do want to follow, I should say, if you do want to watch any of my old episodes, they are on my Facebook profile. And then, of course, I always upload to YouTube and Spotify and Anchor same day. So all of that will be uploaded today, later in the day after I finish this episode as well. But yes, I'm happy to be back. I'm excited. I know I did upload a new episode last week, but again, it was just kind of difficult the way I was having to like go around and do it. So I'm just glad that like I'm able to do it the regular way, the way I've been doing it. I know I'm starting off a little late here. It's a little after 1, but for those who don't know, if you're coming across my podcast for the first time, I typically go live on Saturdays at 1 p.m. Pacific time. So just keep that in mind for any future episodes. But anyway, today we are talking about Scream. And not just Scream, but we're talking about Scream 6. And we're going to react to the trailer. Yay! Um, but before we get into that, let me just preface this by saying I have not seen Scream 5. So, there's a lot of things that I don't know that happened pretty much like as far as the storyline goes. And I know you're probably like, well, why are you talking about Scream if you haven't even seen all the movies? Because I love Scream. That's why. Because it really is like one of my favorite horror franchises, I think. If not my favorite. Oh, well, I always say it has become like my favorite movie, not just with horror, but in general. But as far as like franchises go, I would say Scream was kind of like the first one I've kind of gravitated towards, even back when I like never used to watch horror movies at all. I liked Scream. So I definitely want to talk about that. A new trailer dropped for Scream 6, which is coming out March of this year. So, not that far away. As you know, time is moving really fast, and we're about to be in February. So yeah, I wanted to react to the trailer, and I will be honest with you guys. I have seen parts of the trailer already. So this isn't like necessarily a first authentic reaction, but I haven't really seen it from like beginning to end because I think the trailer is like a good 2 or 3 minutes. So I did originally watch the teaser trailer, and then I watched like a couple of people that I follow on YouTube. They reacted to the trailer, so I've kind of seen parts of it already. I just haven't really like watched it fully myself, and I just feel like it would be cool to like react to it on here. So we're definitely gonna do that, and then we're gonna talk about the trailer. And we'll talk about Scream as like I said, as a whole franchise and just kind of how it started and where it seems to be going now. And yeah, I have some blanks because, like I said, I have not watched Scream 5, although I heard it was really good. And I did see Scream 4. I saw it when it first came out in theaters, but that was like years ago. I was in high school at the time, so I barely remember what happened in that movie. So again, I have some blanks there, like after Scream 3. So there might be some things that you guys have to kind of fill me in on, but just don't spoil Scream 5 for me because I have not seen it yet and I still want to see it before 6 comes out. But anyway, we're gonna get into it. I'm not gonna keep you guys for too long. I'm gonna have to share my screen here so we can watch the trailer together if you haven't already seen it. And if you have already seen it, just watch it with me anyway so we can talk about it. Um, and what I really want to start doing is um kind of, I guess, having more interaction for the podcast. So that way, even when I'm doing the podcast, like you guys will be able to comment live and everything like that. And not just after I post it. Like I know I always say leave a comment below and all that kind of stuff. But I really want you guys to be able to comment like during the show. So that way, if you guys have questions or if it's something that I'm reacting to or talking about, and you're like, oh, I need to like, tell her about this or say something like this, then I could talk about it like right on the spot. And I just feel like that would be a little bit more fun. Um, so anyway, let's pull up this trailer. Hopefully you guys can see this. I feel like every time I go to like share my screen, I feel like it's not going to work for some reason, or I feel like I'm going to have a difficult time with it. But it does work though, because I've done this before. It's just like when I don't do it for a while, I'm like, oh shoot, I think I forgot how to do it. But it's pretty simple. So let's do it. Yeah. Okay. I know I'm like stalling here. I just want to make sure that you guys are seeing this right. And for anybody that's like listening to the podcast, like if you happen to just listen to me on Spotify or Anchor and you don't ever like watch my podcast, this is probably something that you would want to watch. Just because I feel like it would be a little bit more fun than just listening to me react to it. But again, it's all your preference. Um, but yeah, here we go. Scream 6 trailer. Wait, hold on. I lied. Let's start over because I want this to be full screen. Is that full screen? Why does it look like that? I guess it is full screen. Okay, never mind. I lied. Okay, here we go. Okay, now why would you do that? And he's wearing a mask. See, I don't know. Oh, dang. Oh, y'all done for. Now he got a gun? Scream. I mean, Scream. Ghostface ain't never had a gun before. He's always killed with a knife. So this is like even worse. Mm-mm. Oh, she's. Here we go with the calls. How'd she not hear that? Oh, shoot. Don't use all your bullets, cause okay, I saw this part. Oh, that was cool. Now see, um, see the okay, this this is not good because now Ghostface is killing with pretty much any weapon he can get his hands on is what it looks like. And if you guys are familiar with like the original Scream or whatever, you know that like his main weapon has always been a knife. Like that's always been his thing. I think even probably in the second and third one too, if I remember correctly. But now he got a gun. Now he's like chasing people on the subway. He's nope, breaking into people's houses. Like you could tell they're definitely about to make Ghostface more hardcore now, which is going to be more scary in my opinion, because I think like I kind of feel like part of the appeal of Scream, why it was so part of the reason why it was so well received, and why I think I liked it too is because it had that humor element to it. And what was funny was that although Ghostface is a serial killer and he's like, he's killing all these people and going after folks, but like he was still human. Like at the end of the day, he wasn't like a Michael Myers. He wasn't invincible. He wasn't a Freddy Krueger. It was literally like if you punch him in the face, you can knock him out, or like if you trip him, he'll fall down the stairs type thing. And it was funny because it kind of had this like cartoonish element to it. But um, yeah, it seems like that's gone now, which is scary. Um, yeah, so that's the trailer for y'all. What do y'all think? Tell me what you guys think. Are you guys excited for Scream 6? Have you kept up with the whole entire franchise like from the beginning? Um, tell me which one is your favorite movie, which one is your least favorite, and maybe like who you think will be the killer in Scream 6. I guess without spoiling Scream 5 for me because I know that there's probably a connection there. It looks like the same people who were in 5 are going to be in 6, and it's obviously like a newer generation. It's like a younger cast now, although they have Courtney Cox in there, which I didn't think she was going to be a part of the movies anymore. So that's kind of cool to see like an original character, see Gail in there again. um I feel like nobody else really from the original is in there anymore except for her because I don't think Dewey is in it anymore. um I know Hayden Panettiere, she was in the fourth one, I think. So it looks like they brought her character back. And then obviously Sydney's not in this one. And yeah, I think everybody else's character like got killed. So that's kind of cool that you kept one of the OGs in there. But from that scene, it looking like she about to get got too. I don't know. But you know how trailers are. They make it seem like they always make it seem like something's gonna happen. And then when you watch the actual movie, it's something completely different, or they'll either like cut out the part that you saw in the trailer, and then you're watching the movie like, what happened to this part? Like I thought they were gonna show, so and so happening, and they do that on purpose. So I don't know, but I'm wondering if they're gonna kill her off and then just like it'll really just be like the new people on there because I'm pretty sure if they're coming out with a 6 they're gonna come out with a 7. Like I'm betting money on it that there will be like an announcement for Scream 7 probably sometime next year. If Scream 6 is coming out March of this year, it'll be next year for sure. So just remember I said that when they announce it. Um so yeah, I like the trailer. It looks interesting. Like I said, it looks like they're really amping up the horror, I think, a lot more this time. So I do kind of want to go back and talk about kind of like the original movie and then just like specifically number 4. And I'll be honest with you guys, don't fight me, but I didn't really care for Scream 4. I feel like a lot of people didn't like Scream 3. And then I was seeing people go, oh, but like when Scream 4 came out, they kind of like picked it back up. And to me, it just felt like I just remember walking out of the theater feeling like disappointed, to be honest. Now I haven't seen Scream 4, like I said, since it came out, and it came out in 2011. So that was like years ago. So I feel like maybe if I go back and rewatch it, maybe I'll like it a little bit better. Or maybe if I do like a whole marathon, if I can find the time to watch like all of the movies, and then maybe I'll kind of be like, okay, it makes sense now. But I don't know. I just remember like me and my friend went to go see it, and we walked down. We were just kind of like that was the like Jill was the killer, and it just I don't know. It just felt disappointing. I don't know how to explain it. You guys can let me know how you felt about Scream 4. Um, and I think maybe like part of the reason why I didn't really care for it was because if I remember correctly, Jill, I think that was her name. I know it was like Emma Roberts that played the serial killer. Spoiler if you haven't seen it. But I think her pretty much her motive was just like she just wanted the fame. Like she just wanted the attention from it. And she was Sydney's cousin, I think, or like she was related to Sydney in some kind of way. And so she was kind of just like doing all this because like she wanted the attention that Sydney was getting, which to me just kind of fell flat. Um, and I get the whole copycat thing they're going for, and how like fame can really like mess with people's heads. And obviously she was already probably like she probably already had a few screws loose, and then on top of that she saw like the attention that Sydney was getting from this, and probably just the way it's affected her whole family. And so I guess at that point she was just like, well, I'm gonna just be Ghostface and then people will be talking about me type of thing. So yeah, I think just with that it was kind of just like, okay, like that's the reason why. Whereas I feel like with the first one, it was like, ooh, like, like the motive there was really deep, I think, and it made sense, even though it's like Billy was still cuckoo bananas, and so was Stu. Is although Stu didn't really have like a motive, but for Billy, it made sense because it went back to like his parents breaking up, and the way like Sydney's mom. The way he pretty much blamed Sydney's mom for the way his family fell apart, and now he was going after her too, and kind of like ruining her life, kind of like a, your mom ruined my life, so I'm going to ruin your life type of thing. And it just, I don't know, it just made sense to me. And plus, they were like teenagers then. They were all in high school, and I don't know, it just worked. I think it just fit really well. Whereas, like, with four, to me, it just kind of was just like, oh, okay, she just wanted, like, attention. Now, of course, that could happen in real life because there's people out there that really do seek validation and attention that badly. And we see it a lot more now in the social media era that we're in. But I don't know. Like, to me, it was kind of just like, oh, that was it. I kind of wanted something more, I think. Um, and then I feel like I know I'm talking about like each scream at a turn, so try to keep up, y'all. But I think with three, I feel like a lot of people didn't, or why there was like mixed reviews with three, or people didn't seem to like it as much as the first two, is because I think it was a little bit sillier. And so maybe people were kind of like, oh, this isn't really like as scary because now they're kind of putting more humor into it. But again, I think that's why people gravitated towards the first one so much, because it was like the way Billy was like, well, Billy and Stu, but the way Billy was like killing people was really brutal, especially like Drew Barrymore's character. Like that first kill, that opening scene has like stuck with like the horror genre. I think it'll stick with horror forever. Like it'll be one of those scenes that goes down as like really just being like really memorable, to the point where people were like making parodies of it. Like you see the way Scary Movie popped off and stuff. But um it was like this really big contrast between like these really brutal and like bloody murders, but at the same time this was a high school kid or high school kids, and they weren't invincible. Like they were still human at the end of the day, although they were crazy. But it was still like you could clearly hurt them and you could clearly like stop them type of thing. And so that part of it kind of made it funny, like the parts where he was like falling and getting hit and everything, and he was still getting up and trying to like chase after people and stuff. And I think they kind of like elevated that in the third one to the point where I guess some people were kind of like, okay, like this wasn't really that great. Like I guess they made it too. I guess it became too self-aware, which I understand that criticism, because in all three, well, I don't remember the fourth one, but in all three, I know like the characters were very, very like they played on the fact that they were very aware of the way horror movies play out. Even Randy, which was one of the main characters in the first two, um, he used to always talk about like horror films, and he was like, this is rule number one, and you don't do this in films, and you don't do this and don't do that, and like the killer always strikes at this point and stuff. And he was kind of like that character that was always like pretty much telling you like what happens in a horror movie as they're living in a horror movie, if that makes sense. So I think it was just kind of like balancing that out to the point where it's like not too much, because you don't want it to be a comedy, but you don't, but I think that's what kind of like made it stand out from other slasher films, especially during that time, like during the 90s and everything. And I'm pretty sure I read that like Scream, the original one, was like the highest grossing horror film for like a decade or something. I could be wrong, but I know it made a lot of money. So there was something there, obviously, that really worked and resonated with audiences, and it even resonated with me because, like I said, I remember enjoying Scream when I was younger, even though I was like kind of scared to watch it. It was still something that like you couldn't really like turn your head away from. So now it seems like they're kind of shifting into something a little less funny, which I'm like, ooh, I'm gonna be scared to watch this. But I do want to see what's gonna happen though, because I just feel like the franchise as a whole is still really strong. Like I said, I didn't really care for four and like the way it ended, but I don't think that like completely diminishes just like the greatness of like Scream as a whole. And just the work that like Wes Craven did. He was the director for um was it the first three, or I don't know if he did four. I don't remember. I think he was supposed to kind of come back for five, but he sadly passed away in 2015. So from what I've heard, I think that like when they made five, it was kind of like to honor his memory and to honor the work that he did, with the original film. And so I think now that they're moving forward with 6 and probably 7, they're probably going to do it kind of like their own way. You know what I mean? Because now you have a different director. Now it's not Wes Craven anymore. And he's always kind of been behind the films. And then, they're bringing back Kevin Williamson, who wrote on the original one. And I believe he might have been a part of 4 too, as like an executive producer, I think, but I think he's kind of coming back to work on the film a bit. I don't know if he'll be one of the main writers, but I think he will, be a part of it some kind of way. So I do still think they'll have elements of maybe like the original one or maybe like the first 3. But again, it seems like they're kind of shifting into a new direction. And so I'm interested to see how that is going to play out. Um, but before I continue this discussion, I did want to remind you guys that my podcast is sponsored by Stream Media. And the way I'm able to go live every week, and I was going to say every week, but every weekend, is that I use the Stream Studio software, which is what I'm using right now. As you see, the way I have like my name displayed and my backgrounds and the logo in the corner, that's all part of the Stream Studio. So it is free. It's available to anybody that wants to use it. All you have to do is go to studio.stream.com and you put in your email and they get you a login code and then you're in. So they do have different plans available. So if you want to purchase the actual plan and kind of get access to more features, you can do that. But you also have it for free as well, and you do still get cool features. So and honestly, that's what I use, and it works pretty well for me. And I'm able to still do my podcast the way I want to. Like I said, I'm able to go live through Facebook. If I wanted to, I could go live through Twitch or YouTube. So you have those options as well. And I believe they're currently working on adding more social media apps for people to go live through. So that should be pretty convenient for you if you kind of want to go live through like Instagram or TikTok or something. That they should have those options available at some point. And then of course, you can follow them on the socials to keep up with any updates. Follow me as well because I'll usually talk about it. But if you really want to get updates as soon as they happen, you should probably follow Stream Media on Instagram and Facebook. And I guess pretty much anywhere else they have social media. But yeah, anyway, um, what was I saying? I lost my train of thought. But oh, I was just saying that like I feel like Scream 6 is kind of like, how am I trying to say? It's almost like a new era of Scream. I guess 5 kind of was that, but again, I haven't seen 5, so I can't fully speak on that. But I feel like we're getting into a new era of Scream, but it's still, I'm hoping it's still kind of connected to the other films. But I'm thinking that they're probably kind of going to follow the model of what they did with Halloween. So if you guys remember, they I mean, there's tons of Halloween movies going all the way back to like the original and from the 70s, but the last 3 that came out, they made it a trilogy, and I think the first one was like 2018, 19, something like that, and then they did another one like the next year or something like that, and then this last one that just came out, that was Jamie Lee Curtis's last time playing, in the Halloween movie, so that was like a big deal. Um, but they did like this trilogy thing and it worked. So I kind of feel like that's what Scream is going to do. They're going to have, I don't know if they're counting 5 as like the trilogy, but if they do 5, 6, and then they'll probably do a 7. Now after that, I don't know. I don't really know if it would like serve a purpose to keep it going for that long. I think at some point you have to have breaks because I think just having movies back to back to back is a bit much, even for something like Scream. Um, and they did that between 4 and 5. Like I said, 4 came out in 2011, I think, and then 5 came out just last year. So, that was a bit of a stretch there, but it's still relevant. Like Scream is still relevant. Ghostface is still relevant. It's still one of those like Halloween costumes that you see every year. You see it, you see that mask like when you go in the store, you're going to see that if you go into a Halloween store like a Walmart or something around October, there's always going to be that costume. So that costume, that mask is like super iconic. And what's crazy is like in the movies, if you guys remember, it's like a franchise within a franchise. So I'm trying to remember if they introduced it maybe in the second one, but I know like after Sydney's mom gets murdered, and then um all the other murders start happening where the ghost face is going after Sydney and like all her friends and everything. After that happens, it becomes like a whole sensation. So they end up making films about Sydney's life and kind of basically like what happens in Woodsboro, which is where they're from. It's like a fictional, town in California. So it's like this small town basically. And that's where all like the killings happening in the first one. And so they make a movie about it, which is funny because that's like literally what they would do in real life. They would find some way to like exploit this, and turn it into media and everything like that. Kind of like what they did with like the whole Jeffrey Dahmer thing. But they make these movies, and I think they call them like Stab, or like the Stab series or something like that. And so, obviously Sydney does not like that because she's like, this is my real life. Like, I really lost my mom. I almost got killed. My friends got killed. Like, my boyfriend turned out to be a freaking murderer. You know what I mean? So it's like her whole life playing out in front of the screen, and people are just watching it like it's some big like movie. And to her, it's not. So they make it this whole franchise. And obviously, like what happens again kind of mirrors real life there. When you create something like that, you're going to have people that go to the extreme to the point where they're like copycatting, or they're just really like heavily invested into it to the point where it's like, it becomes like creepy, and it's not healthy basically. And so that kind of is what happens, I think, moving forward in the other Scream movies. So I know in the second one, um she's off in college, and so I think she goes to college out of state in like Ohio, or something. Or is it Ohio? Yeah, I think it's Ohio or something like that. You guys can correct me if I'm wrong. But she goes off to college, and this is maybe like a year or two after what happens in high school and Woodsboro. So she thinks all that's behind her. And then obviously killings start happening again, and then she starts getting the calls, and it's like, oh shoot, like all this is happening again. And then it's like, but how can that be when Billy and Stu are dead? And they were behind the first one. They were the murderers in the first one. So in the second one, it ends up being two again. It ends up being Mrs. Loomis, which is Billy's mom, and she's nuts. And then it ends up being what is his name? Oh my god, I'm blanking on his name. What is his name? Um, it's her friend that's in college, and he's like a film student. I think he's a little similar to Randy's character, where he's like I think he's like a film student, and he's like really into film, specifically horror films. And so he kind of has this fascination there. He clearly like plays that out in the second one. And then so I think like in the second one, again, it makes sense for like Billy's mom, I guess, to be crazy because she's like probably blaming Cindy's mom for her marriage falling apart, and then blaming Cindy for her son being killed. Although like your son was crazy and he needed to die, so whatever. But yeah, so it makes sense for her. I think more so maybe than like her friend, which I'm blanking on his name. And then in the third one, um I'm like you guys. I haven't watched like the full movies in quite a while. I feel like I've watched the first one the most out of all of the franchise, so that's why I always remember the first one. But second and the third one, sometimes I get kind of confused. And like I said, the fourth one, I was just like, I saw it once, and I was like, I don't really want to see it again, but maybe I will, just so I kind of am caught up with everything that's going on. But I think in the third one. I think it ends up or maybe I'm getting it mixed up. Oh my god, you guys help me out. Do you guys know? Okay, so I know at one point there's a reveal of Sydney having like a half brother, and he's like crazy because he has abandonment issues, and her mom, I guess, neglected him. I don't remember if like she just never claimed him as like her son, or she just didn't raise him, or whatever it is. But that all those feelings, pretty much because her mom is dead now, all of that gets passed on to Sydney. Poor Sydney, just be going through it in these movies. So he goes after like Sydney and her friends, and again, makes sense because there's a connection there. So I feel like usually they always kind of have some type of connection with the killers in it, and kind of like that because to me it just makes more sense for the motive. And I know sometimes people will say like, oh, it's scary if the killer has no motive and they're just crazy and they're just killing, and it's like, yeah, you can do that, but to me that's a little, I don't want to say lazy writing, but to me, it's just like, I just feel like you can get more than that. And especially for a franchise that has become so popular and so mainstream, and just for I don't know, like just what they built. I just don't think it should just be, oh, he's just crazy. He or she is just crazy and that's why they're killing. Because it's like anybody could write that. But when you start to interweave it with like other character storylines or things that happened way back in the first one or things that predated the first one, that's when it starts to be like, ooh. And I just feel like the reveal is so much more like satisfying, at least in my opinion. You guys can let me know what you think. Um but yeah, I could be getting Scream 2 and 3 mixed up, but I know at one point it's like it's Sydney's half brother and he's like the killer. So, so you have that, and then like I said with 4 it was Sydney's cousin, I think, or her relative. And then 5, I don't know. With this, with the new cast coming in, I'm not sure how they did that. And then with 6, obviously we don't know yet. So I'm sure people are already having theories about it. And I'm kind of interested to see it, but then I don't really want anything to be spoiled for me yet. And I probably won't fully understand because I haven't seen 5 yet. And that, I feel like that's the introduction really for the new characters. So we'll see. But again, I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. I want to know like what you guys thought about Scream. Well, Scream, all of them really, but specifically, I would say 4 or 5, and then what you think about 6 coming out, and how you think that's going to play out. What do you think about the new characters? Because I know sometimes when films go on for years and they start introducing new people, I think people sometimes you have fans or viewers that fall off because they're like, no, it's not as good as like the OG cast or whatever. But at some point, it's like they're all getting older, so it's like they're not all going to be a part of the movies for forever. Um, and I know some people were disappointed that Sydney was not going to be in the new one. I don't know if she was in the last one. I feel like she wasn't. I think after the fourth one, she wasn't in it. I could be wrong, but it looks like Gail is still going to be there. So at least you have her. Um, but yeah, I am interested to see it. I definitely would like to see it in theaters and, of course, give you guys a movie review. Um, if I am able to watch Scream 5 at some point, I don't know if you guys want me to do a movie review on that. I feel like maybe I should just wait for Scream 6 to come out because that will probably be a little bit more interesting to talk about. Then I could talk about the two films together, I guess, and how it kind of connects to 5 and maybe even like 4 and stuff. But you guys can let me know what you think. Or if you plan on going to see Scream 6, of course, leave me comments down below. Or you can email me at Tiffany's TVscape at gmail.com for, feedback, questions, if you want to be a guest or anything like that. Of course, you can always hit me up on social media, but I do have that email, again, just for people that, prefer to reach out to me a little bit more privately. That way you can do that. Um, and yeah, I think I'm going to be wrapping up this episode pretty soon. I'm trying to think if there's something else I wanted to mention. I feel like I always forget. Like I feel like I log off and I'm like, oh shoot, I didn't mention this part. But yeah, the main thing was I kind of just wanted to talk about the franchise and how I actually really enjoy it, and I'm excited that they're continuing it. And I know I have said in the past that like sometimes I feel like films overdo it and they start to just make a ton of movies to the point where it really doesn't make sense anymore and they're just doing it for money. So I hope that they don't like do that. But from what I've seen and from what I've heard people talking about, it looks like people are still invested in it. So I think as long as they have people's attention and it's um, coming from a genuine place of just really wanting to continue the story and kind of like give these characters a proper ending or whatever, um, then then I'm all for it. But yeah, I'm really interested to see like whoever the killer will be in 6, or killers, because it's usually more than one, whoever it will be. I don't know if I want it to be a copycat thing again. I mean, again, like at this point, it's a sensation what's happened to Cindy and her family and everything like that. So again, it makes sense that somebody would try to be a copycat at this point because this is more modern and stuff. But I don't know. I just don't want it to be like the reveal and it's like, oh, I'm just fascinated with Ghostface and I just wanted to be him and kill everybody because this Ghostface, like he said in the trailer, he's like, I'm different. Like I'm not like any of the other ones. So to me, that sounds like you're angry. That sounds like revenge. That sounds like more than just wanting fame and wanting to be recognized. So, you know, I think it could be something deeper than that. And I'm hoping that's what the direction they go in with 6 and then when they do 7, because I'm already claiming there's going to be a 7 because um, I think 6 is going to be well received. That's my prediction, is that a lot of people are going to go get a lot of people are gonna go watch six. I was gonna say get six, as if we still like rent movies and everything. But I think a lot of people are gonna go see it. And I think it'll be well received. I feel like if people liked five, they'll probably like the continuation of it in six. So yeah, I'm gonna wrap it up there. Next month we're going into February, and since it will be Black History Month, I really do want to talk about like some Black sitcoms or TV shows or movies or things, just to kind of highlight stuff that I grew up watching and things that that I still feel like have an impact today. So you guys can give me recommendations on things maybe you would want me to discuss or cover, or if you want to be a guest and come on and talk about it with me, you could do that as well. One of the shows that I definitely want to talk about is A Different World. Definitely one of my favorite TV shows ever. Um, so I would love to do an episode around just that whole show and kind of like how it got started and the way it, I guess, the way it changed throughout the seasons, and even like with like the new characters that came in and all that kind of stuff. But I'll get into it when I talk about it. I don't know if I'll talk about it next week, but I do want to talk about it at some point in February because, like I said, I kind of want to honor Black History Month, and I think that'll be fun and cool thing to do. So I will see you guys next weekend at 1 p.m. And like I said, hopefully we have no more issues and I'll still be able to go live. And as always, I'm still working on getting guests and stuff. So hopefully we'll have that soon because I think that will be really, really fun, not only for me, but for viewers and listeners. I think it'll be nice to have a little bit more interaction going on. So I'm hoping that's like a big goal of mine for the podcast this year is to have more interaction. So please don't hesitate to follow me and leave a like and a comment and just let me know like what you think. And thank you for anybody that does watch and that anybody that does, interact with me or just really anything. Like it really doesn't matter, to be honest. Just any type of acknowledgement I appreciate. So thank you. And yeah, I will see you guys then. I hope you guys have a good week and I'm peacing out. Bye bye.